If you want to know the real Van Damme, he really is a cross between Chad and Alex
Oh,
in
that's funny.
Double Impact.
Hey guys, in this video we got amazing writer-director Sheldon Lettich, a man who helped make the 80s and 90s great with all the movies that he was involved with. Make sure to check out our first video, by the way. I'll post it in the description below. But in this video, we're going to talk about Double Impact, their origin behind that, kind of a funny story. Also, Chad versus Alex, a little bit about Bolo Yeung, and make sure to stay until the end because there's a pretty funny story involving Frank Duke. So anyway, with all that said, make sure to help support the channel, hitting the like button, subscribing, sharing the video, and let's get on to this discussion with Sheldon Lettich.
We did a lot of ADR. Jean-Claude loved doing ADR. I love doing ADR with him. We actually ADR'd every single line in Double Impact is ADR. Every single line. We even got a nomination from the motion picture sound editors for best ADR. We didn't win, but we got a nomination for it because awesome. It's so. What we were trying to do with Chad, we were trying to take some of the accent out, so it sounded more like he did grow up in Los Angeles. And then with Alex, we tried to make his voice a little rougher. So Jean-Claude would do these vocal exercises before he did Alex. He'd go, he'd be roughing up his throat. And then he would talk a bit tougher as Alex. With Chad, we kept it his normal timbre, but we worked on getting some of the words correct. We tried to fix up his language as much as possible.
You know, speaking of Double Impact, I don't think, and this was early in Van Damme's career, I don't think he gets the credit as a great actor that he deserves. I mean, maybe more so now after JCVD came out and some other stuff, but even back then, you know, in the early 90s, and I think a lot of it had to do working with you, because from other interviews I read, you're the one that really believed in him as far as he can be a great actor. He's not just a karate guy. He can be more than that, which obviously he's
absolutely. Yeah.
But you having the faith in him, I think, actually helped. And it's amazing, like, the difference between Chad and Alex. Like, you really think you're watching two completely different people?
No, I've told this story before, and I will tell it again. Around a little after the movie came out, I ran into some guy, just random. I think it might have been at the gym, and he didn't know who I was. And we'd start talking about Van Damme. And this guy says to me, "You know, he's got a brother, right?" Said, really? Where'd you see that? Like, I don't got to read it anywhere. You see that movie Double Impact? Oh, yeah, I've seen it. Don't tell me that's the same guy. That's two different guys. That's his brother playing the other role. So he does have a brother. So this guy totally bought into it. He's not the only one, but this is somebody that I actually ran into, had a conversation with. I didn't tell him who I was, and he was just saying, "No, my bullshit. Van Damme, that's not the same guy. Van Damme has got a brother, and you can see it clearly in that movie. It's two different people." Like, okay, I guess you know more about it than I do.
Apparently,
there's two of them.
So that's
the biggest compliment since you directed that. So obviously you're directing his performance as two different characters. I can't think of like a better compliment than that.
That's the best. I've described that as the best backhanded compliment I have ever gotten.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
If you want to know the real Van Damme, he really is a cross between Chad and Alex.
Oh, that's funny.
Double Impact, because I knew him well enough. So basically, I was able to extract those two different parts of his personality, and of course, he accentuated them in the movie. But basically, that's how I created those two guys. And so the real Van Damme, it's not either one of them; it's both of them combined. He's got those two personalities in
that's
one
interesting person. Yeah, I could see that. Like, if I had to guess, I would say he seems more like Chad in real life.
Because of my big legs and karate, I can do the splits no problem.
But it's interesting that he's like, you know, a cross between the two.
Like the martial arts fans see him more like Alex in real life. or they want to believe he's more like Alex.
Yeah, sure.
But it's really a cross between the two. He's got that sensitive side, and he's got that tough badass side, and they both coexist within the same person.
I mean, that's why that movie was so great and it worked so well. Because again, even like that dude at the gym that told you he's got a brother. These are two different guys. It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah, you know more about it than I do. So.
That's funny. That is funny.
No, that's very funny.
And he's really good in Lionheart also. But I do think Double Impact, because we've got the two roles. It's the two brothers. They very distinct personalities. And we really made it seem you were never confused in that movie as to which brother you were looking at. And we found clever ways to accentuate that too, like with he's got the big bump on his forehead, which is very real, it's a cyst, and in order to get rid of it, they'd have to do an operation, and it's kind of risky, so he never got rid of it. But what the hair and makeup people suggested was, well, with Chad, why don't we have a bit of a flip in his hair so it'll partially cover that and you won't see it. And then with Alex, we'll slick his hair back so it really accentuates it. You really notice that cyst. And wow, it sure worked. You certainly got a sense that these were two different people.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, can you share like the origin of Double Impact, by the way? Because I understand it was like initially like a Canon Films property. And it's kind of a funny story how you basically got the rights to it.
It's a long story. Basically, Menachem Golan, he had a 3-picture deal with Van Damme based on Bloodsport, and then didn't want to do any more movies with him because, in his words, Van Damme is poison. He's no actor.
I can believe this.
Anyways, cut to the chase. Bloodsport does really well all over the world. Suddenly, Menachem's calling us into his office, basically holding up the contract. Van Damme, we have a contract. So we had to come up with Jean-Claude's next movie at Canon. And Menachem's got this wall of scripts behind him. And they've got the titles written on the spine. And so we're sitting there talking to him, and I noticed one of the titles is Corsican Brothers. And I'd heard a little bit about Corsican Brothers before. I knew it was about twins. Hey, so what about Corsican Brothers? That's perfect for Van Damme. Let's pull the script down. So they gave me the script. I read it, and I told Jean-Claude, hey, this really would be a cool movie for you to play these two twins. And actually, the script itself was not based on the original short story written by Alexander Dumas. It was based on a 1942 movie that starred Douglas Fairbanks Jr. It's called The Corsican Brothers, and he plays the two brothers. It takes place in Europe. It's basically the same story. The script, Menachem had commissioned the script. A guy named Lionel Lober wrote the script. I rewrote it. We rewrote it. There was a lot of rewriting. But basically, if you see this 1942 movie with Douglas Fairbanks Jr., they're going to say, well, that's Double Impact. It's got all the bones of Double Impact. That's what we based it upon.
Interesting.
Was that script, and the script itself was based upon that movie and not really based upon the original short story. So it was going to be a Canon film. I was going to direct it. We even did a photo shoot with Jean-Claude as the two brothers, holding different kinds of. It was actually going to take place in Corsica and Paris, and the two brothers' names were Marco and Carlo, as I recall. And the Chad sort of character, we had a picture. He was wearing a tuxedo, holding some kind of fancy gun. And the Alex character was going to be, rather than Hong Kong, it was going to be Corsica. he's wearing like this sheepskin vest. He's got some kind of badass looking shotgun. He's got a beret on his head. So that was going to be the two brothers. We did the photo shoot. Canon put together a poster. And I wish I would have made a copy of that poster. It was a really cool looking poster. The art department did a mock-up of it. But then they decided not to make the movie. And I believe it's because they were having financial difficulties.
Okay.
Although Menachem explained it to me, he said, Van Damme can't even play one character. How do you expect him to play two? He was basically hiding the fact that, hey, we're out of money. We can't make this movie.
Yeah.
Anyways, I had I had done some other work for Canon. I did a rewrite on Delta Force 2, which they didn't pay me for. And again, it was because they were having money problems, but then they tried to disguise that by saying, well, you did a crappy job on the script. We don't like the script, so we're not going to pay you. Doesn't matter. It's a Writers Guild deal. Whether you like the script or not, you got to pay me. I did something that I've never done before or since. I actually sued them. I actually got a litigator, and we filed the paperwork, and I was suing them for the money that they owed me. And this went on for a little while, paperwork back and forth. And eventually they decided, they kind of realized they were going to lose this suit. So they offered me a deal, which was, at this time they had put the Corsican brothers aside. They figured, we're not going to make this movie. Nobody's ever going to make this movie with Van Damme playing two characters. So they make me an offer. They say, okay, you drop your lawsuit and we will give you the rights to that Corsican brothers script.
So what's your answer?
I said, fine, because at the time, and this gets very complicated, but it's an interesting story. Jean-Claude had made a deal with Moshe Diamant. Moshe Diamant and Michael Douglas had a company called Stone Group. And they were going to do a couple of action movies. One of them was called Stone Cold, starring Brian Bosworth. And the other one was going to be a Van Damme movie. And they had a script called Night of the Leopard, which they had some kind of legal ties to, which was a script that was developed by another company. I think it was called ITC. Anyways, something fell apart with Night of the Leopard. So suddenly they had Van Damme signed for a movie. They had no script. And Jean-Claude comes to me and says, hey, what's going on with that Corsican Brothers script? I told him, well, Canon's making me this offer to give me the rights to the script. I dropped my lawsuit. So he says, well, let's go ahead and do that, because Moshe Diamant needs a script. And I like this Corsican Brothers script. I want to do this Corsican Brothers movie. I tell Canon, okay, I'll make, I didn't tell them anything about Moshe. They knew nothing about Moshe. They didn't know anybody else was interested in the Corsican Brothers script. Okay. So fine, I'll make the deal. I go over to the office. They've got the paperwork ready for me. I sign the paperwork. They sign the paperwork. Now I own the script. That evening, I went over to Moshe Diamant's house with Jean-Claude. There was an attorney there. They were all ready to do this. And basically, I signed everything over to Moshe. And so now Moshe had the Corsican Brothers. And so that became their Van Damme movie. Originally, I wanted to direct it, but they had somebody else in mind to direct the movie. I forgot the guy's name, but he had directed Young Guns and I forgot what else. But anyways, once he and Jean-Claude started talking, they realized that there was just no chemistry between the two of them. So Jean-Claude eventually got me on to direct the movie. And then we went to Hong Kong, and I guess
So Lionheart was already like out in theater,
Yeah.
already released, so they already know like you've directed a feature film.
That was an independent feature film that was made for Imperial Entertainment that got picked up by Universal. It was Jean-Claude's first studio release. Basically, Universal, we showed the film to Universal. Jim Jacks was our executive. He loved the movie. In fact, they liked it so much that they were talking to me about doing a second movie for Universal.
Okay.
They liked the film quite a bit. So I basically had punched my card at that point. I had a feature film under my belt, and Jean-Claude had worked with me on Lionheart and felt really comfortable with me. So so he wanted to work with me on he wanted me to be the director of Double Impact also. So we look a lot of little details that I'm glossing over, but basically that's how we ended up making that movie.
Yeah! Hey, bro, we did it!
Now, how was working with Bolo, and are there any like interesting stories from Double Impact related to Bolo? Because I know everybody always asks about Van Damme, but anything interesting with Bolo on Double Impact?
You never know.
Well, he couldn't speak English very well.
Okay.
He speaks English a little bit better nowadays. I just saw him a couple of years ago at a birthday celebration for him. But he didn't speak English. And we went to some restaurant in Hong Kong. And he orders all the food. So they bring all this meat out to the table. And I point to one of the dishes and I said, hey, Bolo, what's this? And he basically just says, quack, quack. He was telling me it was duck.
Sure.
But he didn't know the word for duck.
That's fine.
So we had to get him to say things phonetically in Double Impact. He's gotten much better since then. But back then, he pretty much knew. He was living in Hong Kong.
Oh, that's
And there was
interesting.
no
So
reason,
he didn't even really know what he was saying.
No.
Wow.
I think it was maybe the first AD probably explained it to him. This is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah, sure.
Basically, he was just saying things phonetically back then. He was a real pleasure to work with. But I didn't work with him on Bloodsport because I was not on the set
Sure.
of Bloodsport.
Here's a fun little story that Sheldon shared about Frank Dukes when they were scouting locations for Double Impact.
He claimed that because he was in Hong Kong with me when I was scouting for Double Impact, he claims that he came up with the whole Mercedes-Benz smuggling idea, but he didn't. I read about it in the local newspaper. The local Hong Kong paper was talking about these Mercedes-Benzes that were being smuggled into Red China. And I said, Frank, look at this. This would be a great idea for the movie. So Frank's now saying that he's the one who came up with that idea. And anyways, I don't even want to get into it, but he just loves taking credit for stuff that he had nothing to do with.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the Kumite days, I guess. In the
Right, yeah.
Now, I have a theory and a question, and apparently a big cliffhanger, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're not, because you're not going to want to miss the next video with Sheldon Lettich. There's going to be a lot more. We talk about all kinds of cool stuff. Obviously, Frank Dukes comes into it, the discussion. Talk about Rambo 3, working with Stallone. Talk about all kinds of stuff. So I'll see you guys next time.